Welcome to the Disruptor Network podcast.
Welcome back to the Disruptors Network podcast. And we have an awesome guest today. I'm really, really excited to talk about elite mindset and how you make your day and your life better. And Todd Cetnar, welcome to the show.
Ignition. Liftoff.
Thanks, man. Appreciate you having me and excited to be here, man.
So I could probably go down a rabbit hole of basketball questions for you, but I won't because I don't want to bore everybody else. But I'm a big basketball fan, and you know, it's impressive what you've done throughout your career, not just after basketball, but you know, just kind of going to play overseas and all that kind of stuff. Your background as an athlete and like a student of the game, kind of growing up underneath the coach, which was your dad, it seems to have kind of set you up well to teach others of what to do and how to build. Mm-hmm. Can you talk a little bit about some of the highs and lows during that journey that influenced the kind of direction you've taken today?
Yeah, I would say, speaking of my dad, he taught me an early lesson. I should say a lesson early on in life. I'll never forget it. I was playing basketball in the backyard with a group of my friends. We were 8, 9 years old, very young. And back in the day, I don't want to date myself, but we didn't use water bottles outside. We grabbed the hose on the side of the house, and that's how we got our water. And he came out and told all of us, hey, it's dinner time. Todd, you need to come in. Hey, guys, you got to go home. We'll see you tomorrow. And at the time, I dropped the hose on the ground and I started walking towards him. He goes, what are you doing? Where are you going? I said, what do you mean? You just told me to come in to the house and eat dinner. He said, put the hose back. I said, I'll put it back tomorrow. Wind it back up on the side of the house. I said, I'll put it back tomorrow. Not a big deal. He goes, Todd, listen to me. If you want to earn a Division I basketball scholarship, if you want to become a professional basketball player and get paid to play the game you love, if you can't put that back, you can't earn a scholarship. If you can't put that back, you're not going to get paid to play the game you love. And the lesson he said was, how you do anything is how you do everything. And that stuck with me at a very early age, as you can tell, because I remembered the story. And that kind of set the tone. Obviously, I played for him, went on to play Division I basketball for 4 years, and then ultimately professionally, we can talk about that for about 6 years. But having that coach, having that mentor, and that early onset of this is how you do things the right way really set the tone.
It's so awesome. I have an 8-year-old son, so this story is a little bit weird for me because I say that to my son all the time. It's how you do one thing is how you do everything. You know what I mean? And especially when it comes to sports. And so that's amazing. And it's funny because I'm going off topic a little bit now, but not really. But I watched the NBA draft last week, right? And actually me and my son went to it. And I noticed that, like, I think out of the top 10 guys that went in the draft, like 7 or 8 of them had parents who were coaches and or high level players. Yeah. And I saw that and I was like, these guys, I think, are just kind of expanding on what they were taught all these years, and they had structure and they had coaching and they had a message and they had how to be better, and they're kind of taking it to another level. Do you feel that way? Like when you got to college and even into the pros, did you feel like you had a foundation where you knew the right things to do every single day, and it was just a matter of you expanding on that?
Well, I wouldn't say I knew, I made mistakes just like every other young adult student athlete. I would say, what I really gravitated towards was ultra successful people. Like I always wondered, what are they doing differently? And when I was growing up as a high school, college, and pro basketball player in my young adult years, I always looked at people like Jordan, Tiger, Serena, Brady, Federer. Like, what are these guys doing differently? Like, why are they so much better than everybody else? And when I left, I decided to hang up my basketball sneaks in 2007. And I went into the corporate world as a pharmaceutical sales rep and ultimately in med device as a VP of sales. Because I'm beating on a new craft, I started to study those leaders. Gates, Zuckerberg, Jobs, Musk, Oprah. Like, why are they so good?
And did you find that there was a similarity between all of them? Like
100%.
Yeah.
And I know you've looked at some of my social media, and this is where the book comes from. The 3 pillars of elite results that I wrote was, in doing 30 years of research, 3 decades, they all had 3 things in common. They had a different level mindset. They had exceptional leadership skills. And then they understood how to build a culture or an environment around them to give them the best chance to win, right? Or the best chance for success. And I'm thinking to myself, man, okay, it's one thing to get there and they're getting elite results. So that's why I called it the 3 pillars of elite results. but how did they get there?
Yeah.
And as I kept digging in deeper, what I realized was there were 24 skills that the best of the best, all these high performers mastered. And when I say mastered, I mean, they did, just like in sports, they did the drills to build the skills to obtain the skill set. And under mindset, leadership, and culture, there was symmetry. There's 8 skills for each, right? And some of them were like focusing on the process, not the outcome. Having routines and habits of excellence. Having emotional intelligence. How are you connecting with people? Having a MVP plan, mission, vision, principle for your life, right? All these things, these people did really well. And to your question, that's where I kind of gravitated towards. So I knew if I was getting derailed a little bit, I always went back to the process. I always went back to the end goal. And that's how I kind of stayed focused on what I wanted to do in my life.
That's awesome. And I think one thing you said in that really sticks out to me from your book too, is that it's kind of like, not only did they know what they were good at, but they knew their limitations and they surrounded themselves with people that could kind of fill those gaps, right? Like, so is that even part of your coaching? Like, hey, it's important to do this, this, and this, but you also have to surround yourself with a network of the people you know, or people to fill the gaps.
100%, man. And it sounds cliche. We've all heard it for all of us that are into self-help and development, but you've heard the quote, tell me the 5 people you hang around with, I'll tell you where you'll be in 5 years.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah, you're right.
You know, and I have a lot of one-on-one clients right now at the moment, and they'll come to me and tell me why they got derailed. And most of the time, it's who they're hanging out with. And once you change that, you change everything.
And you bring that up, and I brought me to a question that I wrote down because you said something I thought was awesome. You started talking about how, you know, you have to, there's got to be a work-life balance, right? But when you do something you love every single day, there doesn't have to be as much balance, but you still are really, really big on time blocking to make sure you're spending the correct amount of time with the correct things. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. Here's what I realized, and I got this from Jesse Itzler. For those of you that don't know Jesse, he's the co-owner of the Atlanta Hawks. He started Zico Coconut Water and NetJets, right? And he married Sarah Blakely, who, ladies, you would know, the owner of Spanx. And so what Jesse Itzler would say is he focuses on only the things he wants to do in his life. And I translated that to the 3 F's for me: family, fitness, finances. And when it comes to time blocking, and people that see my calendar, which I share with all my clients, they know that my energy is only going to those 3 areas. And if it starts to leak out of those 3 areas, I can catch it really early on and it won't bleed out. And because that's how you start to really get a little bit off track. And that's how you get burned out. But if I'm doing something every single day that is in alignment to where I want to go in my life, which is always my family, being healthy and making some money so I can support my family, that's what my life is about. And I find ways to stay in those lanes and do what I love to do.
Yeah. And when you said it, and I love that you just said that, because when you said it, it really resonated with me, because I'll look up sometimes and I don't know where the day went. And it's because I just let the day take hold of me instead of taking hold of the day and saying I'm going to do this and that. So it's, you know, when you said something like that, it really stuck with me, because you're right.
Yeah.
I think that if you just stay into the things that you really have hyper focus on, these are the things I need to work on every single day, and I'm going to time block for those things. So that's awesome. That's a really good tip for the audience. How do you push yourself through when you are feeling kind of uncomfortable or defeated in the moment and you don't want to continue on task?
Yeah, that's what my life's about right now. You know, I'm 44 years old, and anything worthwhile doing, you're really not going to want to do it. You want to stay in shape. It takes a lot of energy and days you don't want to get out and work out. You want to eat healthy. It's really hard to eat healthy with everything we have around us, right? All the food, all the fast food, everything that everyone else is doing. You want to write a book. You know how hard it is to sit down and write a book from front to back when you got your cell phone, text messages, Instagram, Facebook, everyone's calling you. So for me, mental performance, which I have studied now for the last 30 years, and I have become a mental performance coach. And to me, what that means is 2 things. Number one is, it's not what happens to you in life, it's how you handle it. That's what I teach people. And number 2, I do that through a system. And mental performance mastery is understanding that it's having an unbreakable system with a bulletproof mindset, so that when you get hit with life's adversities, all of life's obstacles, all of life's challenges that happen every single day that we take our feet off the bed and put them down, It's having that system to know that you don't just kind of get through it, you thrive through it because you got the strategies to do so. And so every day, the strategies that I'm now serving back and teaching people, like I mentioned, focus on the process, 200 feet at a time, 1% of my day, all these little things, these micro goals are what keeps me motivated and inspired to get through.
That's awesome, man. That's really good. That's a really, really good tip. Yeah. And I think you have to have some, I heard Mike Tyson say recently on a podcast, and he's interesting that, adversity causes the strong to be stronger and the weak to be weaker. But I think there's a middle ground there also where you could program yourself to be better either way. Right. And I think that's kind of what you're teaching people, which is great.
Agreed.
And you just brought it up. So I'll bring this up now too. I heard you speak about this too, it's a constant battle, even for me, with nutrition, right? Like I'm constantly trying to stick to my every 2 hours eating, but it becomes hard, especially when there's a lot of stress involved in a day. Mm-hmm. But how do you give others advice to take it more seriously, first of all, because you always have taken it seriously, and how important that part of it is to be healthy physically to help the rest of their lives?
Right. I would say this, if you have a big enough reason why, you'll find a way how. So if you study Simon Sinek, who wrote Find Your Why, if you have a big enough reason why, you'll find a way how. And so for me, I know my whys, and I've really dug in deep to figure out my whys. And my whys really come out on the hardest days. That's when you need to anchor in and really think about, why am I doing this? It's easy to do it on it's Thursday, right? I don't know what day you're recording, but for us, it's Thursday.
Yeah.
Tomorrow's Friday. Okay. Friday, most people are happy. We're getting towards the 4th of July. Everything's going to be, the weather's nice. Friends coming over. Let's have some cocktails. We're going to go on the boat. It's easy to bring your best version of yourself to people. How about on Monday morning when it's 58 degrees? It's cold. You got to get back in the gym. You got to go back to work. Are you going to be like everyone else? Or are you going to come in with the same energy you left the week prior and went into Friday with? And so for me, it's about every time someone talks to Todd Cetnar, you're going to get the same version. High energy, enthusiastic, because enthusiasm is contagious. My energy is a choice. I can choose to bring energy. So can you, right? Our attitude's a decision. And the decisions you make will determine your destiny. And so for me, I understand my relationship with time. This life is very short, and I've seen it change for people for the bad in a blink of an eye. So I'm not wasting a day. I'm not wasting a minute not being the right dad, the right husband, the right friend, the right son, the right brother, because we don't have much time here, man. And when it's all said and done, I'm going to look back with zero regrets.
And I think, I don't know. So we're right around the same age. I'm 43. I'm about to be 44. Right. A lot of the stuff you're saying is something I'm thinking about constantly. And time is one of those things that I don't know what it is. Kids definitely change it for my kids are 8 and 6, but like over the last few years, I've been hyper focused on time now, where it's like,
yep.
Do you think that's something that came with age, or you think that's something that like you started to realize because like what made you become so hyper focused on time? Because it definitely has become a priority for me more and more over the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. I'm going to go back to Jesse Itzler for a minute because I really believe in what he talks about. At the end of every keynote that I give, I stole something from Jesse. I put a line up on the screen and I say, does anyone know what this is? And the audience will shout out some things. I said, this is your life. And I put from the day you were born to the day you die. Now, Ralph, there's a statistic out there that says the average person lives to be 78 years old. Now, let's hope none of our listeners here and you and I aren't average, but for 1 second, let's just use the example here that 78 is going to be the day. I'm 44 years old, as I said. That tells me I have 34 summers left. 34.
Yes.
Going back to being a father, a son, a husband. That's it, man. I got 34 summers left here. So I understand that I'm not counting the days to the weekend. I don't care that it's Monday. I don't count the days, man. I make the days count. And that's just the way I live because I know what time is like, and time is going to go so quickly, man. We're thinking back when you started the podcast today about my high school days with my dad. It seemed like yesterday. And so I don't count these days. I make the days count.
Yeah, and I think you're right, because time is fleeting too, right? And I think probably even as a pro player, which is something you dreamed of your whole entire life, I'm sure it went by like this. Like it was too fast, probably.
It was very fast, 6 years in Europe. And sometimes when you're in it, it's hard. I was a 22-year-old kid, 22 to 28, away from my family, away from, my girlfriend at the time. It was hard. But you know what? Let's go back to the why. My entire childhood, I dreamed of getting paid to put the ball in the hole. I envision myself coming into an arena overseas and being the only one of two Americans getting paid and being a superstar over there in their eyes and being a role model. So those are the things that grounded me back to saying, okay, yeah, there's some fears. Yeah, I wish I can see my family and friends, but I'm young and I'm going to take the bull by the horn and I'm going to live this out because this is a dream.
It's awesome, man. It's really awesome. So what, you went through different successful careers now, right? What do you feel like has been your tipping point most recently, right? Like where you said, I think you said about 2018, 2019, you left your job, you were running this pharmaceutical and you kind of went, you're like, I'm going to do my own thing now.
Yeah.
What was the tipping point there to say, hey, this was it. I need to make this decision.
Yeah. All my adulthood life, I spoke, I was always in front of people being a pro athlete. So I enjoyed that. And I got comfortable doing that. I did a talk with a former Navy SEAL and good buddy of mine, Sean Haggerty, out in San Diego, California, for a company called Genoa Healthcare. And I was just tagging along to kind of see, Sean talk. He brought in Chris Ring, who's the only guy, also former Navy SEAL, that swam the length of the Mississippi River.
Wow.
Which is an incredible
That's
feat.
crazy. Yeah.
And he brought in Jason Kuhn, another former Navy SEAL, who's a speaker as well. So I got to listen to these guys, but none of them had corporate experience. And they had asked me while I was there to kind of speak to the group. And that night, after it was all said and done, the director that ran that Genoa Healthcare meeting said, hey, man, I think you might have something here. Like the group really listened to you. They felt like you provided good value and your delivery was really good. And I remember leaving there thinking, well, I really love to do this. This was like a passion of mine. And so I spoke to Sean a little bit more about it. And Sean introduced me to a guy named Brian Kane. And Brian Kane is one of the top mental performance coaches in the country out of Phoenix, Arizona. Brian and I now 4 years later are almost best friends. And Brian really helped propel this career of walking away from the corporate world and doing this thing on my own. And so I thank Sean for the connection and that opening talk with Genoa and Brian, who's been right by my side along this journey.
That's really cool. Like listen, it still takes a lot of guts to do what you did. Even, you must've really felt it. Like this is really what my calling is right now to do.
You know what? I got a note from someone at that Genoa talk, and they said, you really changed my life with the way you see the world. And he talked about some of the strategies I gave him that day. And I didn't have it etched in stone yet. Like I showed you the book on Cam. I also wrote a 240-page training manual. None of this was put together at the time. And now that I have it all in a framework, what's cool for me is it's not the social media posts. I don't love to see myself on camera. What I love is getting those handwritten notes, is getting the DMs saying, man, I woke up today really in a bad place. And because of this strategy, because of this thing you said, it changed my day. And sometimes it changes people's lives. That's what it's about, man. Serving others and making impact.
Yeah. And I like that too, because I'm sure you too, as a former athlete, that almost gives you an accountability. Like I have to be up and be this person every single day because now all these other people are counting on me. It's kind of like, so it kind of makes you even more accountable to yourself.
100%. One of my pillars, or I should say, one of my strategies under pillar one, which is mindset, is preparation and mental rehearsal. And I utilize Conor McGregor, the MMA superstar, who's, obviously he's a little bit crazy now. He's made a lot of money. He's made some poor decisions, but he used to be a plumber in the back aisles of Dublin, Ireland. But when he was under those sinks, he was thinking about being a world champion. He was thinking about the walk to the octagon. I mean, all these things he did to prepare. And what he did really well was he threw it out there to the whole world. There was a video of him saying, I am the future. I'm going to be in the UFC, way before Dana White ever found him. And so I learned a lesson from Conor McGregor, and I'm training for Ironman triathlons now. And every day I'll post before I work out. Today I'm doing 8 miles. Today I'm doing a 35-mile bike ride. And the reason why I do it is to allow people to hold me accountable. Because if someone ever asked me and I didn't do it, then I have to explain myself. So that's very true, man. It's great to throw it out there and let the world know what you're trying to do.
Yeah. And what you're doing now is hard. I've never done one myself. I've run long distances, marathons, but I've never done, and I have friends that have done it. So I know that's even a different kind of discipline because you're training something probably different every single day.
Yes.
And you may get up some days and you're like, I really don't feel like running today, or I feel, but that's the day I got to do it. So are you doing is it a full triathlon?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And is this your first one?
It's my first full. Yep. So, for those you don't know, it's a 2-mile swim, takes about just under 2 hours, 112-mile bike, and then a full marathon after it's all said and done. And, yeah, it's tough, but again, it allows me to go back and teach people what are the strategies I used when I was facing the utmost adversity during the 16 hours it takes to finish this race. And so I've done a couple 70.3s that were non-sanctioned just because of COVID. It really altered us the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And it's hard, but you know what? I don't worry about finishing the race. I worry about the next 200 feet. You know, that's it. That's all I worry about. I wear a wristband I had created that says 1% on one side. And 1% of 24 hours, right? 1% of our day is 14 minutes and 24 seconds. So let's round up for the sake of the conversation, call it 15 minutes. So when I'm out there working hard or doing something I don't want to do, I just say to myself, just go another 15 minutes. Just utilize 1% of your day. Anybody can do that. And when I get there, let me do another 1%. And it's all about micro goals and finding ways to keep yourself motivated in the moment when adversity is hitting you like crazy.
Yeah. And I think that you probably look at things like that, like, hey, it's never going to be as hard as that unsanctioned 70.3 that I did. Like I'm in better shape now. I know better mentally. Like I go back to things like that all the time where it's like, this isn't going to be as hard as that was. I mean, do you kind of use that in your brain, like as you continue to get over hurdles?
I do, because you're training, right? So you're physically getting fit. You're callousing your mind. If anyone watches David Goggins, another former SEAL, right? He's out there every day.
Yeah, it's crazy.
He doesn't want to do. That's why he's doing it. He wants to be uncomfortable. And one thing Goggins always says is nothing profound ever happens inside your comfort zone, right? So you got to get outside your comfort zone. And so that's, I take from everyone, man. You've heard me name a bunch of people already. And that's what I'm about. I want to learn from the best. And yeah, to your question, it's like, that's what you need to do. You have to make adversity your advantage. And one of the ways I do that is no matter what happens to me, I don't ever say like, why is this happening to me? I go out and run. I have to run later today. If my calf is hurting, if my knees are, I don't say, why is my knee hurting today? What I say is, okay, this is happening for me. This is testing my mind. This is going to test now. Am I going to finish this? Can I navigate through it? And that's how I just view life, man. Everything's happening for me. And your mindset you'll find a positive if you can think about it that way.
That's really good, man. It's awesome stuff. Just in general for life, never mind athletics, but just for life.
Yeah.
A couple of things I want to get to before we wrap up. So first of all, I know you have the book that's out now. I know you're writing. I think you're writing another book. When is that coming?
So I think it's going to launch early 2023. It's 365 days of quotes around mindset, leadership, and culture that you can kind of open up on that date and give yourself a little morning mindset, right? To get yourself ready. That's
really, really cool. And that's kind of the thought process of waking up and getting something positive into your brain every single day, right? That's awesome. And then for people who want to get in touch with you, either for coaching or just to say hello or whatever, where's the best place to reach you?
Yeah. And for coaching, I'll just throw a quick nod in there. I truly believe I'm kind of do it 3 ways. We got a keynote talk, which is usually 90 minutes. Then we got team consulting and then ultimately one-on-one coaching. And a lot of my clients find me in that order, right? Someone will bring me into their team, their organization, their company, and we'll lay the foundation with a 90-minute keynote. And in that keynote, it's really high energy. I take them on a roller coaster ride of emotions, and I help them understand that, again, going back to that relationship with time. Usually then they'll bring me back and we'll do some team consulting in smaller groups. And then ultimately we'll get some one-on-one time too. Now, of course, I do all 3 at any point in time. I coach CEOs, parents, kids. It doesn't really matter, right? It's what's cool about what I've kind of created is everyone needs the right mindset. Everyone needs to learn how to lead themselves and other people, and everyone needs to build the right environment. If you get those three things right, you will be just like the people I named 30 minutes ago, because they were once amateurs and now they're pros. The only difference is they turned pro by focusing on things that they didn't want to do and other people wouldn't do.
That's really good. Yeah. And I think everything you said here is valuable enough to want to expand on for sure. So
Yeah.
I think you'd be a great person to reach out to. And is your website, which I believe is your name, is that the best place to get you?
Yeah, it's actually my company name, CetnarConsultingGroup.com. You can obviously, there's a lot of stuff up there, and you can get a hold of me and my team, and certainly the best place to start.
And that'll be in our show notes, guys, on all the podcast platforms. So you'll have that at the link to the website. So this is the question that I close with always now. And I have a book that's coming out that's called The Growth Trap. And it's based around the concept that, when we're younger, from infancy to 18, we kind of get bigger, we get stronger, we get smarter, we get better at things kind of automatically. And then we get to a point where we have to start forcing growth, which you've done your whole entire life. And some people can do it and some people can't, or they don't think they can. So I've been in growth traps my whole entire life. So, tell me maybe a growth trap that has stopped you and how you've gotten past it.
So like a hurdle, you mean?
Yeah, like something you got to and you're like, I never experienced this before. And you did something to kind of get past it, and it really changed your focus. And you've talked about a lot of them already, but give us one more.
Well, I'm going to give you a real big one. For anyone that's bought my book or read it, The 3 Pillars of Elite Results, you're going to see that it's an inspirational story around a character who's loosely based on myself named Michael Stoneridge. And in that story, everyone in there is either a family member or friend that is renamed. And if you read the book, you'll notice that Michael, me, has gone through a difficult time, both at work and particularly at home. And there's a real story behind this, which my wife and I talk about publicly. We've been together since 2007, but in 2017, 18, right, we went through a divorce. We went our separate ways. We really struggled in a marriage. And we came back together mid 2018 to talk about it. And we spent a whole year in 2 different houses meeting in Connecticut with a group of people that also went through what we went through, to kind of talk through the strategies and how you need to work on your marriage. You need to work on each other. You need to work on yourself. If you can't get yourself right, you're not going to be able to be right in a marriage. And we worked so hard for 12 months to get back. In the last 4.5 years has been the best 4 years of my life with her. And it's because, and we got remarried. Great story in the end. We got remarried. We have 2 beautiful kids, 2 years and 8 months old, 2 cool dogs, living in our dream home here in Saratoga. A lot of work, huge setback, a lot of tears, a lot of sadness. But the point of me telling this story and basically writing a book on it loosely is you need to take adversity and make it your advantage. And the only way you do that is through strategies. There are so many talented people out there that think that's all they need. Life is not a talent game, my friends. Life is a strategy game built on passion and enthusiasm. When you have those 3 things, nothing can stop you, and nothing can stop my wife and I. And we're better off than we've ever been before because of that.
You don't hear that very much. So that's an awesome story that you got through. And I think that the most important thing I think you said through all of it was that it was a lot of work. Like you were willing to put the work in the middle of it. And most people would be like, all right, I'm out of the house. Like I'm free. Like this is kind of it. And this is before you had children, correct?
Correct.
Which makes it even harder that you did that, because then it's really easy to just kind of cut bait and be like, all right, didn't work. I'll just move on to the next step. So that's amazing. That was a great way to end it. And I hadn't heard that before from you. So that's really, really cool. But thank you, Todd. This is awesome.
Thanks, man.
Thank you for coming on. And be sure to check out the podcast. It's on all the platforms. It's on Spotify, Apple, Anchor. It's on YouTube. And Todd, you were great. And check out Todd on his social media, his website, and I would definitely get in touch.
Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate you having me.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.
All right.